All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to my awesome guest. We have Tsang, who is, I know up in Canada. I didn't ask her what city. I'll ask her in a second. I think she's pretty sure. I'll ask her in a second exactly where she is on the planet. Ella is a cosmic life and business mentor and all-around awesome human. Came across her Instagram page just a few days ago and reached out to her and asked her if she would be excited to have a fun conversation with me. Told her that she was awesome and she obliged and said she would have a fun conversation with us today. So that's what we're going to do. So without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Ella, and you can share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, and where exactly on the planet you are.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, Noel. It's super nice to be here. So my name is Ella, and I am based in Montreal in Canada. So you're right, I am Canadian. And what I do, so I'm a cosmic life and business mentor. And honestly, I played around with the titles for quite a little bit. And I always find it's a bit confining to say like, we are this one thing. So it's this ever evolving thing for me. But basically what I do is that I empower badass light workers to remember their infinite potential. And as I say, quantum manifest their most lit life and online brand. Because what has been really coming up for me on my journey up until now is that we are all infinite beings. And I really believe that when we can reconnect back to that truth, when we remember who we really are, when we remember the powers that we have to create our reality through our mind, anything is possible. And so that's what I'm really passionate about, is really this grounded spirituality approach when it comes to manifestation and really designing a life and a business that you love, while also mixing in some more practicals of aligned business strategy. I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher, so I love the woo from the Kundalini yoga perspective. And I also practice NLP, so I'm a master neuro-linguistic programming practitioner as well.
This is going to be such a fun conversation. I already like where this is starting. And this is the first thing I noticed about Ella's page. It's like the powerful energy that she brings forth immediately attracted me to sending her that voice message. It wasn't a long deliberation process at all. So I'm just happy we get to flow some of this stuff. And what I'm super curious about, because what I know about us as human beings is once like the light bulb comes back on, so for some, like when we come here as little babies, we're like just unconditional, loving little beings. And we come here from non-physical to physical. And for a lot of us, we forget, along the way as we go to school and start comparing ourselves, and we forget who and what we truly are. And then when the light bulb comes on, it's just a never ending process of becoming more and more and more aware of that and being able to attract resources and, just awarenesses that we can use when we're ready to use them, on our life journey. For you, how did that look? Like, were you someone that from the moment of just being the little unconditional loving little baby has just evolved into what we see here without ever forgetting? Or is there
I wish. I wish that would be a lot easier. But no, I think I always say how, from what I've seen, like in my friends and clients and people in my community, we all have to hit a certain rock bottom in order for us to kind of get to this point of thinking, I'm in a lot of pain right now. I'm suffering. There's got to be a different way to live life than the way that I've been living. And so for me, that started at about 19 years old. So I'm Chinese and I grew up in quite a traditional Chinese household where it was like, get straight A's, be good at math, become a doctor, your life is going to be set. Like the stereotypes are real. So especially growing up with two older sisters, my oldest sister's a pharmacist and my second sister's a nurse. So they basically went along that traditional path. And for me, I've always knew that healthcare wasn't for me, but I also didn't fully know what was going to be for me. So when I came across my first business class, I was like, okay, this is awesome. So I started to go to business school when it came to university. But when I was about 19 and I was in my second year of university, everything was going well by the outsider's kind of point of view. Like I was getting my straight A's, I was having a 4.0 GPA, I was like top of my business school, but inside I was feeling miserable every single day because I was constantly comparing myself to other people, constantly feeling like I wasn't good enough. And I'll never forget the day when I got my first B+ in university and I couldn't leave the house. I'm not kidding you. I was like, my life is over. I'm a failure. I started researching, like, what do failures do? Like, it was really dramatic. And I was always very anxious. So along with this excessive need to compete and to compare myself in order to feel good enough, I also was always anxious of getting sick, of dying, like anything would stress me out. So it was just the perfect storm at about 19 years old when all of this kind of dawned upon me, like, why am I in so much pain? Although on the outside, I have everything. So that was kind of what catalyzed my journey to go into Buddhism at first, because I heard about the concepts of letting go. I was like, that sounds like something that I need to do. So I started learning how to meditate. And that kind of got me started a little bit awakening to just like, there's a different way of living life. And then I would say my other really big rock bottom that got me to what I'm doing today, being like a spirituality coach and just really making having a spiritual life like a huge part of who I am, was about 2017 when I ended up in the hospital. It was about June 2017. At that point, I was working my dream job because I really wanted to work at L'Oreal, and I got my dream job, manifested all that kind of stuff. I was making great money, working a great job. But still always felt like I wasn't good enough. I took failures really close to heart, and it ended up manifesting in me having this full-blown panic attack and chest pains and everything that I thought I was going to die, which only made it extra worse. So I ended up in the hospital. And at that point, I was also in quite a toxic relationship where I had been cheated on, and just a lot of like lack of self-worth thing going on. And so at that point, after going to the hospital, I remember I was like, okay, I had this very clear realization that if I continue to live life like this, I was going to die, like for real. It's like I wasn't going to make it. Like my mindset was so bad, and it was directly reflecting in my body. I would get mono, I would get strep throat, I would get like just the weirdest illnesses and viruses that came out of nowhere. And so from that point was when I was like, I need to stop making everything outside of me my identity. I need to stop making my job and my performance at my job at L'Oreal mean something about who I am as a person. I need to stop allowing relationships and the way that I was being treated in my relationships to mean something about me. And that was when I went on Amazon, got my Oracle card decks, my essential oils, my self-development spirituality books. And basically that was the start of the journey. So that was a very long and elaborate answer to your question.
No, super interesting. And I love how you just pointed that out, how so many of us, and I don't know if it's all out there, but I know I had for sure a rock bottom moment or several that catapulted me, on my journey as well. And I think it's very interesting that for us as human beings, when we can become open to something changing in our life, it's like, okay, like it's almost like a surrender. Like, all right, that's what rock bottom kind of is. It's just like, all right, like you have to go somewhere from here, or else, this depression can't last. Like for me, like I always thought I was going to play professional sports, and I was a great baseball player from the time I was 2. Like literally, I was so competitive as a little 2 and 3-year-old. My family has all these pictures, and then got a scholarship to go play in college, and then tore my shoulder up, and then I couldn't throw anymore. And so that was kind of like the beginning of the end for me at 21. And then by 23, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to play professionally like I always thought. So that in and of itself was like super depressing. What made it worse is there became a part of my life where I was reaching for external success in order for me to fill the void of wanting to be successful in a way that I always thought I would. So that caused even more like depression, because it's just like, that just doesn't work for any of us when you're trying to like, I'll be happy when I get the relationship, I'll be happy when I get the career. Like that is a really good recipe to be unhappy right now. And so I totally can relate, and just being open to just something having to change is what I believe allowed the synchronicities that showed up to show up when they did for me. And what sounds like the same thing happened for you to be open to, looking at Buddhism and, starting your meditation journey, which is super powerful for any of us, anytime that we start down that route with meditation. And so the other things that you mentioned as far as spiritual tools that you started reaching out for. And I'm sure you've noticed, from that point of being open, and this is my encouragement to everybody in the audience, it's just always evolving then, because now your light bulb is on, and now you stay open for the rest of your life. You can't unremember the things that you've discovered about life now,
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Well, no, that's awesome. So from there, I mean, it's always really cool when someone takes the things that they become aware of that have helped them and want to apply it to actually help other people. I think all of us, like it's hard for us to keep inside the things that we've, discovered that's helped us in our lives, but then others take it to a different, place where they actually want to help even more people. And in your case, do it as a career. How did that journey look for you? And it's just something you always just loved as far as seeing people thriving, or how does that look?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So that basically started after I got out of the hospital, started reading those books, and it was like synchronicity that one day I will never forget. I woke up one morning, was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw this like CVC feature or something like that of digital nomads in Bali. So up until that point, my mindset was always like, to be successful, you need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a pharmacist, or a nurse, or you can have a corporate job. That was like the only other leeway. So I was like always thinking that, okay, the corporate job, that's where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Now, when I came across this video, I was like, what do you mean people are working from the beach in Bali and becoming six-figure entrepreneurs? So that got me aware of the whole coaching space, of the whole online industry, the online service-based entrepreneur kind of sphere. So I started thinking, what if I started my own side hustle while I was working at L'Oreal? So that way I could start to disassociate my attachment to my job, for having my job and my job performance means something about who I was as a person. And instead I would actually start to think about what would make me passionate, like what actually excites me, because I was doing digital marketing at L'Oreal. I love digital marketing, but I was like, I'm not going to sell lipsticks and foundations for the rest of my life. Like, I'm sure about that, although I love it. So from that point, I didn't know really what I was doing, but I started investing in some courses. I started just like being in different Facebook group communities. And the first idea that came to me was, well, I'm good at digital marketing. I'm naturally good at branding. I naturally have a business background. What if I just started a business to help other entrepreneurs who aren't great with social media learn how to create a brand online? Because that was my corporate background. That was what I was doing on my own with Instagram. And back then it was more of this fitness, health related type of blog that I was starting. So I was like, okay, we'll run with that and see what happens. And so it was really cool that from me deciding to do that about September 2017 to then about March, I think when I actually launched my business, it was around January of 2018. Within like 2-3 months, I made over like 5 figures, because I launched my first course on how to use Instagram, and I had like 15-16 people sign up. I had no idea what I was doing back then. Now looking back, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I did that, but it worked out. So for me, I always thought that, okay, like it seems like, teaching people how to use social media was going to make me money. Maybe I should just keep on doing that. So at that point, I had like a growing Facebook group community. I was sharing content every single day. People were coming in, buying my course, becoming one-on-one clients, but something just felt missing. And so when I felt this kind of stagnant feeling around April to like June of 2018, I was like, I don't get it. Why do I have so much fear? Why do I still feel like an imposter? Why do I not really want to show up? And that was what really kind of got me to go even deeper in my inner journey and doing all the inner work. And all of a sudden, it was just kind of like, I can't even pinpoint the specific moment, but all along this time, even as I was doing the online business coaching, the social media coaching, more and more, I was just becoming more spiritual. I was like, I am obsessed with the mindset. I am obsessed with understanding how the mind works. I am obsessed with this whole idea of learning how to trust in a higher power, because as I mentioned before, I've been struggling with anxiety like a huge part of my life. And I realized at that point, it was because I didn't trust. And I've had my trust broken in relationships. It's just been very difficult for me to trust. And so around the May, June timing of 2018 was when I was like, okay, like I feel like this is what I need to focus on. This is where I need to work on for myself. Now, funnily enough, I've always been obsessed with Gabby Bernstein. I'm not sure if you know Gabby Bernstein. Awesome. Yeah. So I met her in person actually in March 2017, and she wrote in my book, Ella Be the Light. And back then I was like, I don't know what she's talking about, but cool, sounds great. And like when June 2018 came around, she opened doors to her Spirit Junkie Masterclass, which was this training, this like online program for learning how to become a spiritual teacher and coach. And I was like, wow, like I don't really think this makes sense for me right now, but I'm just feeling this pull to do it. So I signed up for that program. And it was crazy because the day that I signed up and I paid for it, the same night, my ex-boyfriend, who we had this very toxic relationship, he broke up with me. And after that, he was like, I don't even know why I did that. Like, I regret it. I was like, you have no idea. That was the best thing that could ever happen to me. So the moment, I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because it's absolutely crazy. But it was like the moment that I said yes to spirit, the moment that I said yes to, like, this is the path that I'm going down, everything that didn't serve that fell away. So that summer, I was diving into that course. I started learning about Kundalini yoga for the first time through Gabby Bernstein. And little by little, I just started, instead of doing another program on business strategy or social media, the next offer I launched was on mindset. And then from there, by the end of the year in 2018, I was like, I want to make spirituality and having a spiritual component part of my one-on-one coaching program. And so it was like these little bits and pieces. There wasn't ever this one moment that was like, today's the day that I'm going to change my entire branding. But it's really funny, even if you go to like websites like Wayback Machine or something like that, if you look at the evolution of my website, or even on Instagram, if you scroll down my feed, you can see that it kind of happened gradually over time. And then like today, now in 2020, I look at my brand, I'm just like, holy crap, like this is what I'm meant to be doing. But I figured that out because I took action along the way. I listened to the nudges. It didn't make sense to me. I'm like, my family was kind of like, what are you doing? We have a pharmacist, we have a nurse, my brother-in-law's a doctor, and then we have a spiritual coach in the house. Like, what's going on? Didn't make sense, but it was just about following the nudge, just always tuning into like, what do I need and how have I grown from that? And based on what I've learned, how can I share that back with people? And I think the other thing that came along for me along my journey of coaching and just being in the online world was that I saw that in myself a lot, and also in the people who I worked with, was that the biggest thing underlying feeling stuck and stagnant, it wasn't that they were missing a strategy. It was always because they didn't fully believe in themselves. They weren't fully trusting of the process. And it was the belief work, ultimately, the belief and the identity work that was holding them back and holding myself back. So ever since then, it has really just inspired me to help people create that outer transformation from starting from the inside first. So that was basically the second half of the story.
So good. You said so many powerful things. You guys rewind and listen to Ella's segment that she just shared again, and all the little intricacies of it. And I want to highlight, like, for me, what has become one of the most important things that I've become aware of, and is what you mentioned, just following those little nudges from the universe. Yeah. And just knowing that, all of us, because of the life experience that we've all lived up until today, like, we're more clear on what we like, what we don't like, what we want to see in our life, what we don't want to see in our life than we've ever been. And tomorrow will be more clear, the next day, next month, next year. It's not promised to us, but we'll be more clear as we get there, because additional life experience. And so we ask these questions to the universe, how can I, enjoy what I'm doing more? How can I have the relationship that I want, or whatever it is? Mm-hmm. And then we get these nudges, and a lot of times, like, we ignore them, or we don't think that that's, we second guess. So we're like a little bit fearful to move forward with them, when the universe is like, you just said that this is what you want, like, come this way. Yeah. Go experience this. Even if, like, because I love how you describe this, even if you don't think that this is something that you're going to be doing right now, like the Gabby Bernstein masterclass that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Gabby Bernstein's awesome. Shout out to you. I have some old business partners that doing really, really well. One girl in particular. Do you know Andrea Lucchese by any chance? Ring a bell?
No, I don't think so.
She lives in San Diego. Shout out Andrea. Yeah, she's an old business partner of mine, and she's done really well doing all the Gabby Bernstein stuff. Awesome. My point is, when you mentioned it, you at that time didn't think that was going to be a direction that you were going to be going down, mm-hmm. but there was a nudge that you followed, which is so important, because for all of us, any life experience that we choose to go take, whatever it is, if we follow those nudges, there's going to be some new clarity there, some new, where we're like, oh, I want to keep going this direction, or let me adjust, let me go down this direction. Yeah. Or there could be someone there to meet, or there could be one lesson that you take from it that you can apply, that you might not even know that you're going to apply 5 years later in your life, or whatever it is. So, and then what you mentioned about your ex, basically breaking up that same night, and the universe clearing out space, which
crazy.
So that's so awesome. Like, I love the parts of the universe where it's like, that's definitely couldn't be a coincidence. Even if someone didn't have, any belief in any of the stuff that we talk about on this podcast, there's just certain things where it's like, geez, like, that was just, the timing was just way too perfect to be able to focus on, the new direction that you wanted to go. So I love it. Like your story is awesome, how it's evolved and continuing to evolve, like for all of us. Like this conversation is happening with Ella at the time of this recording. We're right at the end of March 2020. And, you know, by March 2021, it's not promised to any of us, but like she'll be in a whole like more evolved place, you know, and the things that she's become aware of and that she's applying. And it's just awesome what you described as far as the nudge, the life experience, and then applying, you know, just taking inspired action is such a great way for any of us to live. So I love that you shared all that. That was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely a question that I kept on asking. And it actually came from this book that I read that definitely contributed to my whole awakening process, was this book called Light is the New Black. And in that book, the author, Rebecca Campbell, mentioned that the only question you ever have to ask yourself is, what lights me up? And then you follow it. And then, you know, to your point, you kind of adjust, like, does this feel good? Is it something else? You just keep on asking yourself, what lights you up? You follow it. And there is no doubt that at the end of the day, you will end up exactly where you need to be.
I love it. Absolutely. 100%. And that, by doing what Ella just described, and, you know, we have the cliche of like, you know, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. I find that that is really difficult if we're doing something just because we have a motive of a result.
Exactly.
Like we just like, okay, if I do this, like I'll be successful. Like a lot of people, like especially when there's family pressure, and I'm not saying your family pressures you. Sounds like they're super open and like happy to have the spiritual coach. But I have met people where like it was more than just like, you know, this is like a good option to be a doctor. Like this is what you're doing. Like, or it's like they had so much pressure to go against that. If they chose to go against that, to go follow their, you know, their passion or their excitement. So it's much easier for us to enjoy the journey if we're actually doing something that we're in alignment with, that we're actually excited about. Because then it's not about just this result. Of course, we have goals and things that we want to achieve, but at the same time, we can be happy at the step that we're on, and then the next step and the next step, and just enjoy the whole journey, you know, like the cliche. Then, you know, by the time we get to the manifestation, we're already like excited about, you know, additional things. It's like we're just constantly evolving. So life can just be one enjoyable journey versus only be happy when, which I think I shared this earlier in this episode. That just is I did. I've recorded 2 today, so I forgot what I shared earlier in this one and the other one. Yeah, that's a quick recipe in my experience to being depressed. Whenever we start to hear ourselves say, "I'll be happy when," even right now, like it's so interesting. Like in the time that we're living in right now, I've had to catch myself a few times. Like I'm happy when I can go like connect with humans again, you know. And it's just like, obviously I will, and at the same time I could also choose to do things right now that are also enjoyable and they're helping me evolve and all these things.
Yeah, no, being present is so important. To your point is that we immediately let go of any attachments when we are experiencing joy and fun in the process. Because if you just keep on reminding yourself, wait a minute, where I am at right now is exactly where I need to be, and I'm absolutely fine. It's like you don't have to wait to get to this next point to be okay, to be happy, to be whatever, because right now you're fine. And so that's something that I'm incorporating more in my practice, is every single day to be like, I'm grateful for where I'm at, and I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm happy. And so by doing that, to your point, when you get there, it's like, oh, like I didn't even realize that I got to where I wanted to be, but now I'm here. Awesome. What's next? And you're just fully present in the whole process.
I love it. Such good reminders for all of us. Like it's just, for me, that was always the biggest challenge in life. Was like my greatest weakness at one time in life was taking score of where I was in the present, not being, you know, appreciative of it or happy with where I was, and then putting out into the, I'll be happy when I get to this place. So just not enjoying. And that is just not, I had to attract actually, synchronistically. I moved into a house I was in 5 roommates in LA. It's about a decade ago. And the only thing left in the house was in the corner of the garage were like 4 spiritual books, one of which was The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, sounds like a good title. Like, let me read this. And it immediately like just shifted me to, you know, focusing on the present and realizing that that's all that exists for any of us. And, you know, from there, it wasn't just like rainbows and sunshine and like unicorns at that point, but at least it had snapped me into present moment awareness. And now a decade later, that by far is like my greatest strength. And the only thing I really pay attention to is like, what's my vibe, frequency, energy, mood right here and now, knowing that that's going to reflect out into to the world and everything that I'm doing anyway. It makes life way simpler than having to think about all this different stuff. It's like first and foremost, like ground zero, like what's my frequency, what's my vibe, and then from there, if it's something that I'm like at peace and I'm happy with it, then momentum can carry me to where I'm like blissed out or having at the time of my life. But I'm not requiring that in order for me to, to live. So I love it. I love it. What are you excited about right now? Like as things are going on here, it's an interesting time in life for sure for all of us. What are you excited about personally or for humanity or what's going on in your world?
I'm so excited about mass awakening. I feel like for me, like what I've been witnessing, and it's funny because even just within the last week, I would say at least 5 or 6 people have told me that they started meditating. Like people who have never meditated before, all of a sudden they're like, now I have more time. I'm kind of stuck at home. I'm feeling a bit anxious. So I started meditation. So I think, given what's happening in the world, I always believe that, everything is always happening for us. This was a new belief that I took on ever since doing all the deep trust work, really going deeper into spirituality and understanding that we are always in relationship with a higher power. Even if in a moment we don't understand how, I'm always choosing to believe that there is a greater purpose. So I personally believe that despite all the chaos going on in the world, there is a higher purpose. And there always will be one if that's what we choose to believe, because as you probably know, our perception creates our reality. So the way that I'm choosing to see, what's going on and what I'm feeling really excited for humanity overall is that, first of all, we have this ability now to slow the F down for a lot of people who have been caught up in that, like, wake up, go to work, pick up the kids, go home, like make dinner, like go to sleep and repeat. Like now all of a sudden there's this like interruption, this pattern interrupt, as we call it in NLP, to everyone's daily habits. And so it really gets people to start to question, wait a minute, am I really living life the way that I'm meant to be living life? Wait a minute, now that I have all this time, I actually want to spend some time reflecting, and like through that reflection is like, oh, these are areas in which I want to work on myself for and stuff like that. So I think it's a really cool time where the habitual ways of being are being interrupted and for a greater purpose. And so more and more, especially within my community, what I'm also seeing is that so many souls are rising to the call. All of a sudden now, especially for a lot of empathic people, it's like, I'm feeling the pain, I'm feeling the collective fear, and I know that I have something that I can contribute to make things better. I might not have the full clarity, but my soul is calling me to step up. And that's where my work becomes so exciting, is because I'm like, yes, like I am here to support you. That just lights me the F up, as you can probably tell, is really connecting with people whom I call multidimensional leaders. And this is a word that has been coming up for me a lot within the last month. The fact that we are all multidimensional, meaning that we are not meant to be fit in one job and one path in our lives. I really believe that we are constantly evolving, and we have so many different aspects as to who we are as a human being. The way that we can truly live into our purpose and add to the collective greater good and help to raise the vibration of the planet is when we realize that I have a lot to bring to the table. I have so many different aspects to who I am. I am so unique. There is no one out there like me. There is no one out there who can do something the way that I do it. And I'm finding now that with what's going on in the world, people are waking up to that. People are waking up to a different way of living, a different way of contributing, and a different way of just experiencing who they are as a being. And as a result of that, they're starting to ask questions. They're starting to just like search about things on YouTube. They're starting to reach out, even though in the past they've been like, yeah, like that can wait. That can wait. Now all of a sudden it's like, it can no longer wait. I have to do something about it. So that's like my big spiel of excitement for what's going on right now.
I love it. You're so passionate about, I love speaking to anyone that's passionate about anything about in life, because it's just way more fun to play with humans in an energy of passion and excitement. And I just love what you're affirming for everyone, and what you've been seeing from people like in your life. And it's just awesome. Like anybody out there, what Ella just described, as far as us all being like, if you go out there and choose to do anything, even if there's a million other people doing that exact thing, it's going to be so different coming from you, because no one's lived your life experience. Like nobody has your, energy that you're going to bring to it, which is awesome. And once we realize that and really can tune into whatever lights us up, like Ella, you're just a great example of just being lit up. and can inspire anyone, regardless of what they're into, to be like, I love how lit up she is about what she's into. Like, what am I into? And then do you be able to be as lit up about that? Like that, even in and of itself, is like, that's being the light. Like when we talk about being the light, that's being connected. Like no matter what you believe out there, like I use words like God, universe, love, all that is, source, spirit, you know, infinite intelligence. I use all these words interchangeably, knowing that we're all just different physical expressions of this non-physical energy flowing to and through us is really what is us. That's who we are.
Exactly.
And once we realize that and know that we've all lived unique life experiences and are different expressions of it, then it's just so much fun, because if I'm looking at Ella and I'm like, dang, look how passionate she is and how awesome she is, she's just a reflection of me. She's just a different expression of that same energy that I have flowing through me as well. She just has a different life experience. So now I get to be like, well, what do I want to flow this energy through? So we can all be super confident that if you're seeing any humans that are awesome out there, which you see them all over the place, then that's just another reflection, another expression of you. And you use that as confidence, as fuel to just figure out what that is for you and just go on that path and put tons of inspired action in and enjoy the process and watch the manifestation. And by the time they manifest like what you want, you're already going to be onto something else, like Ella said. So it's just awesome. Like the life journey is so awesome for all of us. And I'm just rooting for everybody to be able to grasp that for them. Because here's what it does. Like when you have awesome humans like Ella and so many of you guys out there, all of us are the same awesome energy, creating whatever it is that you're inspired to create, then all of the 7.7 billion of us here playing together in 2020 and beyond get to experience that. And not only do you get to inspire us to go create, but also we just get to enjoy, whether it's a new technology or a new book or a new course or a new food or a new experience, whatever it is. Like, it's just, that's why we're here, to enjoy and to be able to reflect out new creations, things that don't exist yet. Like there's so many things that we're going to see in the next, month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months that are being created right now, because people have so much time and they're choosing to meditate and they're choosing to go within and to be able to introspect and ask themselves, what is it that I want to see evolve in my life and in the world? And I'm all for that. Like I'm rooting for everybody, because I want to have an even more fun life experience with all the things that you guys create. And I want to take the inspiration and use that to be inspired to create more. And I want to collaborate with you guys out there. I just want to enjoy this life with all of us. And that's what we're doing. So I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. This has been a super fun conversation. Question I have for you. So you've been doing this the whole time, and I'm always curious, like what flows out of people when I ask this, knowing the internet is going to be around for probably a long time. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon. So someone could hear this episode right when it's released or 100 years from now. And so anytime that someone's attracted to this episode, anything that you'd want to share with humanity, doesn't matter what it is, that you feel would make an impact on them whenever they hear it. And you've been doing it the whole time. So you could easily say, refer to the rest of the conversation or anything new that comes out.
Yeah, I think for me, the greatest piece of advice is just to remember that you are this infinite being. To your point earlier, we came from source. We are all different expressions of it. We are made up of the same things as everyone else, and everything that we can see right now, like we are all made up of the same subatomic particles. And so by understanding that, and this is where the quantum physics side of me comes out, by understanding that the nature of subatomic particles is to express infinite potential, that means that whatever you think of, whatever you even just have like this remote idea of, it's possible. And what I really want people to understand is that anything is always possible for you and within reach if you believe it to be. And so whenever you're finding that something is challenging, whenever you feel like you want to give up, just come back to, what do I need to shift in my belief? Because when you do that, when you can just do whatever it takes for you to believe that what you want is possible, and you just keep on taking the aligned action forward, there is no way but for you to succeed. And that's the biggest thing. If we just remember that we are infinite, that whatever we believe in is possible, and we keep on moving forward no matter what happens. And especially as you do that, the key is to remember that once again, your perception creates your reality. Yes, you can perceive something to be a failure and a reason to give up, Or you can just perceive that to be a lesson, and all the more reason to continue on. So by doing so, there is no way but for you to succeed and manifest whatever it is that you desire. So to recap that, believing, remembering that you are freaking infinite, and taking massive aligned action, and never give up.
Dude, that's so good. That's so good. For sure, rewind and listen to that part like 2 or 3 times. Like that. That's so good. Like, every once in a while, and I don't want to like, so I'm not going to say my next sentence, but I'm going to compliment you a lot. Just, I don't always say re-listen to something like multiple times in an episode, but that, what Ella just described, there's no reason for me to say anything like in addition. Like that was just like, we'll leave that there because that's just awesome stuff. Awesome truth for all of us. Just great reminders. Like I always say, like, I'm not saying anything that innately we don't already know to be true, and we can always feel truth when we hear it. That just gave me so much excitement that you shared that. And that will 100% be a part of the preview clip when this episode comes through. You just made my job very easy to preview this. Like, we'll start there. I love that. Well, this has been so fun. And this conversation, we flowed out a ton of stuff. And I mean, I could talk to you for a while and ask you like different questions. Like, is there any other direction that you want to go with this? Because you've shared so many powerful things. I feel like that question that I just asked that you just flowed out, like that's always, I wait until the vibe is like super high, which we already were. And then what comes out of someone from there is just like everything they know to be true is like, if someone wanted to just listen to one part of these podcasts, just rewind to the end when I ask that question. And then, but the buildup is like, what, like you need all of it. Like it's all like a perfect flow of the whole conversation. So I'm so happy with this episode right now, even if we don't say anything else. But if there's any other direction that you want to go to, or just tell the audience what, anything that you want them to know as far as what you're doing. You guys definitely want to follow Ella on social media and see what beautiful things she's going to be creating like from now until forever, because I know that everything that she chooses to put her attention and her energy on, you're going to feel the same passion and energy that you felt in this conversation. And it's just going to be awesome, whatever she's doing. So if there's a nudge to follow her, like we talked about nudges, definitely do it. There's a nudge to work with her, like coaching wise or whatever it might be, definitely do it. The life experience that you'll get from there will be super beneficial. And who knows where that could lead. And, you know, anything else that you're feeling inspired about from this conversation, just follow it. Like it's a really good next direction for you to go 100%. But anything you want to share with the audience as far as what you have going on?
Yeah, well, for me right now, like I think I just have like another message that came through to just like share as a reminder. Is that, you know, with what we're feeling right now and seeing in the world, there is a lot of collective fear. And I think that what we need to remember is our ability to change that even as an individual. It's super important because I think that a lot of the times we might think, oh, what difference is it going to make if I do one thing? Like I'm just one person, right? But to your point before is that when we light ourselves up, when we decide to choose love over fear in our own lives, we first of all immediately create this effect in our family, our friends, our immediate circle. And then they go on to spread that to other people. And especially during these times where there is a lot of fear, what I really want to remind people, and even beyond these times, if you're listening to this like 100 years now, is to remember that the biggest thing that we can always do in any situation, in any time, and therefore to live a more fulfilling, a more aligned life, is to choose love over fear. So in every single situation where you are feeling this tension, where you're feeling this fear, where you're feeling this negativity, ask yourself, what would it look like if I chose love instead? How would you react? What would you say? What would you do? What would you not do? Right? And act from that place, because you have such a big impact that you can create, even just as one person, to your communities and therefore to the rest of the world. So that's like another big piece that I want to put out there, is that, you know, at the end of the day, there is always just this like constant battle between love and fear. And the way that society has been set up, the way that a lot of us have been brought up, is to default to the fear. It's basically survival instincts. It's what your reptilian, your limbic brain, your emotional brain, it's what we were wired to do, is to expect the worst, be fearful because we want to protect ourselves. But just knowing that, you know, asking yourself always, how can I choose love? How can I lean into love? And at the end of the day, that is what it comes down to when we say like creating miracles. A miracle is simply a shift in perception from fear to love. So I just want to put that out there to remind people now and any other time down the road, whenever you're feeling the fear, choose love instead.
I love it. Awesome. Awesome advice. And just great reminder for everybody. And just knowing that anytime that you do what Ella said and choose love, you're connected in that moment with whatever it is that you believe. You're connected with it, and you're connected with the non-physical energy that is us. And you now have access to the thoughts that you didn't have access to when you were in fear. Like when you're fearful, what type of thoughts do you have? Fearful thoughts. Like it's going to be a frequency match as far as what your brain is able to give you as far as words to speak, and your actions to take are going to be fearful actions. So it's useful if you're in the jungle and you're like running for your life from like a wild animal. like it's very useful. In everyday life, not so much. It's just vulnerable to illness, disease. Like the stress is just not useful ongoing. It was designed for survival, like Ella mentioned. So if you can know that you are being who you are, you're being the light right now, you are connected right now, then you can trust that place so much. You can trust the thoughts that you have, the inspiration that you have as far as actions to take. You can trust the words that you speak. Like the reason that I could like have these podcasts and not script them or just let them flow where they flow is because I just know that we're going to just play in the vibration of just love and excitement and passion, and whatever words pop into our mind from there and come out of our mouth, that's going to be just exactly what needs to be said. Like it'll be in the flow, and we don't have to like plan it all out or worry like, oh no, am I going to be able to say that's a place to feel. So yeah. Again, you only have access to like, you're just like a fraction of yourself from that place. It's a part of the human experience, but we're being who we truly are is when we're being loved, and that's who all of us are. So I love that. It's a great way to end this conversation. Unless you have other things to share, and then you can share as many downloads as you want.
I think that's about it.
I appreciate you. No, this is an awesome conversation, and you guys definitely share this episode with anyone that you're inspired to. Share it on social media. This will make a great impact on anyone that is attracted to listen. And just really appreciate you, Ella, for coming and sharing your love and light with all of us today. And I'm really excited for the world to get this episode. I'm kind of wishing that this was streamed right now so people could have it now. So now I'm going to have to hurry to get the episode out. You'll be episode, I think, number one. I think this will be episode 126. I'm putting out 115 today, maybe 127. I have to get going. I have some time and stuff. But yeah, so this has been super fun. I really appreciate you, and looking forward to seeing what you choose to create. And I'll put this out there. This is the first collaboration, not the last. I can see the future collaborations in whatever capacity, and I'm excited about those too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys out there. Definitely rate and review if you haven't already. Thank you for those of you guys that have. It's making it easier for people to find these episodes, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll keep having more awesome conversations with powerful humans like Ella up there in Montreal. You speak French, Ella, in Montreal? Isn't that required?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. I'm like okay with it.
Like that's a requirement. I was choosing between Toronto and Montreal a few years ago, and I really want to go to Montreal a bit. But I chose Toronto just based off of people said, more people speak English in Toronto.
Yeah.
I'll go there. Well, awesome. Well, you guys have an amazing day whenever you hear this, whether it's right now or 100 years from now. You're awesome. Me and Ella are both rooting for you. Sending tons of love and light. We'll talk to you guys soon. Awesome. So much fun. That was an awesome conversation.
Yay. So good.
That was good. That was really good.